Anyway, I'm Steve Simpson. I'm the president of the Tech Club. And what we'd like to know, make sure you sign in over here. How many are here for the first time tonight? Great. Tell me what brought you in here and don't tell me your Maserati. All right? Tell me about yourself. Are you new here? You just built a home. You've been here a while. You've heard about the Tech Club.
5
Yeah.
months. Been here 5 months.
5 months, okay. And how'd you hear about us?
Well, through
I'm sorry, tell us your name.
online, Jack Fife,
Uh,
and my wife, Glenda.
Glenda and
Jack.
Jack. Okay, Glenda and Jack, tell us about, you've been here 5 months, okay? And
Box of things.
still got boxes, right? And what's your expectation for tonight?
Anything would be an improvement.
Okay. All right, all right. Just a little background before we go any further around. Paul Marriott was the president, and he moved to the Woodlands to be near his daughter. His wife needed more care, so he moved down there. We still communicate. In fact, I was just communicating with him just yesterday. But so I assumed the president role of this club, and it's anything that's technology. So it could be smart cars to smart home to smart TV. So we started out as a computer club, but then we decided that didn't really fit. And what we do is a show and tell, not a show and do. In other words, we don't make house calls. Okay. Now, if you have questions, maybe we can help you. I can say, okay, this is what I'd do if I were you. All right. And so next month, I think what I'm going to do is how to install your own antenna on your house. I just recently read an article that said the big takeaway for 2024 to save money is to go to an antenna. Mm-hmm. And so I think I've got a convincing presentation on that. It's not very expensive, but we'll go through that. And so who else is new tonight? Okay, over here, tell us your name.
My name is Sue Hess.
Okay, Sue.
I moved in 4 months ago on
Welcome.
Church Street. So I've been very techie all of my life. Like I went to school for computer science way back in the day.
Nice.
Which is totally different than it is now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I just have a knack for it, etc. But I'm always willing to have ears and learn more and stay up to date. I got to keep up with the young kids.
There you go. Okay, thank you, Sue.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Hi, I'm Ralph Brunks.
Welcome, Ralph.
We've been here for maybe 4 months.
Okay.
And yeah, we moved here from Connecticut, so don't hold that against me. I'm here now.
Okay.
I've been in electrical engineering,
Oh,
technology, stuff like that.
Good.
So I'm just here looking for something. We're in the process of trying to assimilate into different groups and things like that.
Right.
Meet people and find things that we enjoy. So this
okay.
is one
Welcome.
of those areas.
I didn't mention this, but we have no dues in this club. Thanks for your applause. So there's not much expectation. I try hard. Steve and I do to come up with various topics. The big one is cut the cable, which I do usually once a year, but I'm gonna do a spin on that with the antenna because I have one. I've had one for years, and it is absolutely the best bang for the buck there is out there. Is having your own antenna and being able to get what's free over the air all the way from Cedar Hill. And so there's various ins and outs to installing that. I had an installer do it, but nowadays you can do it yourself. Welcome, sir. Glad you can make it. All right, who else is new for the first time? Yes, sir.
Yeah, my name is Bob Feischl. My wife and I moved in over Thanksgiving weekend.
Wow.
And we still have
Welcome.
some boxes.
Okay.
But moved here to escape from California.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
And we're in California?
Huh?
We're in California?
I lived in Temecula.
Okay.
And our daughter and her husband lived out here for 5 or 6 years now, and they've just given us our first grandchild, so that really.
Okay, great.
pushed it over the edge. So,
Yeah,
Cool.
I just found out about the Technology Club when I saw it in today's bulletin, so I just came to see what it was all about.
okay, great. Thanks for coming. Anybody else new for the first time? The gentleman just came in? Oh, no, you've been around a while. All right, so it's 8 o'clock. I'm sorry, how wonky I am. It's 7 o'clock. I want to introduce Ed here to our group here. Ed, you want to come forward?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. So, thank you. Thanks. You already got a big hand. I haven't even heard you
Yeah.
yet.
When you say
Okay.
come forward, maybe
Come
you
forward,
give me an
all right.
award or a plaque or something.
So, it's interesting how I found out about Ed because Shelby sent me this email and said, there's somebody you might want to check out. And I go, I kind of looked at what he had on his website and I go, no, I don't know. But I end up making a phone call and I go, yeah, this guy really could fit us very well out here and what he does. And so what he's going to talk about tonight, and I'll let him go into it, is I guess it's technology simplified. Is that correct? Okay. And some things a person can do to help simplify their technology world, right? So if that's said, Ed, I'll turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you. So, yeah, Ed Sanders, as he said, and first thing that people want to know is who is Ed and why is he up here? So I kind of like going through my background using some pictures. So first of all, I'm a MIT grad, and I find that a lot of stuff I mentioned, people have connections to it. So anybody here have an MIT connection? Someone that attended there or a grad yourself? I also went to MIT on a Naval ROTC scholarship. So I want to thank you guys all for paying for my education. And I'll tell you a funny story. I didn't hear about this till years after I graduated, but I was a nuclear officer in the Navy. And if you go to a school like MIT, you're actually required to go on active duty every semester. But I had a top secret security clearance, and I would just disappear. And I found out years after graduation at a reunion, people were looking at me real funny, and I was like, why are you folks acting so weird? And they said, well, we just had a discussion and we were surprised you're here. We thought you flunked out. And I was like, oh my gosh, guys, I was disappearing to go on active duty, and you couldn't talk about where you were when you were leaving. You didn't know it. To give you like a day's notice, disappear, come back, and they were like, yeah, we all thought you, like half of our class, it seemed you flunked out or took time off. Very few people at a school like MIT graduate in 4 years, so it's not surprising to run into folks that got the degree, but it took them 6-7 years. After graduation and the Navy, I went to work at Procter & Gamble in Cincinnati, Ohio, and we all use P&G products. P&G General Advertising is a fabulous place to work. It's on like the 8th floor in the corporate headquarters, and you want to experience having power, just go there and work, because P&G has such broad influence in terms of advertising and consumer products. You snap your fingers and vendors and companies say, yes sir, how can I help you? I kind of miss being there. While I was at Procter & Gamble, I had a very strange experience. The president of the company contacted me and asked me to meet with one of his folks, but he wanted to extend the invitation and just to leave me wondering why his group vice president wanted to meet with me. And that person wanted to meet with me because at the time there were few minority instructors. So they actually wanted me to start teaching. And I was thinking maybe I did something wrong and I was going to get fired at a young age. But they actually said, no, we want you to start teaching, and we want you to go to Miami University of Ohio, which has a big campus right in Cincinnati, and be an adjunct professor. And you can teach in the afternoon, 1 or 2 afternoons a week, and we'll pay you. You're still on our clock. So that kind of started me in this teaching thing. I actually taught at Miami University of Ohio, University of Cincinnati. Then when I moved to Chicago, I taught at Northwestern University, which is a really good school. And then while I was with Procter & Gamble out in California, I taught at Modesto Junior College and also California State University Stanislaus. Now, I have worked at a variety of different corporations. So IBM, I've sold servers and storage. Adobe Acrobat, which I actually used to do this. I actually helped develop and launch that product, so that's part of my startup activities. I spent several years working for Philips Lifeline, so I know all about healthcare and HIPAA. And then I also spent time working for Microsoft, and there's a couple missing, but those are good ones to start with. Now, in terms of startups, I also worked at a company, helped start a company that most people are not aware of. They've heard it in the news recently. Any of you heard the name or know the name VMware? Yeah, well, I was actually employee number 30 at VMware. And now it's a huge company and gazillion employees, and they've been purchased a couple times. They just got purchased by Broadcom. They've been in the news for that. So a lot of times when I run into people and they say, I hate all this cloud stuff, and I say, I'm sorry, I'm responsible. And they laugh like they think I'm joking, but I'm dead serious. It's like I did help start all this years ago. I have daughters in school. So one daughter went to Vanderbilt, undergrad, fabulous school, and then she went to graduate school at Seattle in University of Washington. If any of you haven't discovered this, what happens if your young people go to Portland or Seattle? Has anyone had this happen to them? No? We don't, how many of you are native Texans here? Or are you transplants from elsewhere? Okay, so a lot of times when kids that grew up in Texas, they go out to Portland or Seattle, they refuse to come back. They like it out there. And so my daughter went to Seattle to go to grad school, and she's like, Dad, I'm never coming back. And I'll say, you're young and you will learn to never say never. You just don't know what happens. And then my other daughter went to Belmont University. So they overlapped, so I had the pleasure of traveling to Nashville from here for about a 6-year period. I was there almost at least once or twice every quarter, dealing with my daughters. I do live in Plano, but I'm also geographically promiscuous. And one of the things that I put DFW on here just to remind me to say that I'm geographically promiscuous. But the other thing I discovered is there actually is not a logo for the DFW area. So this actually is the logo for the airport. That's the closest thing you find to the DFW area logo. And then I'm a lay leader at Chase Oaks Church in Plano, Texas, and I'm there every Sunday. The top 2 questions that people usually want to know from me is what my age is, so I'm not afraid to say that. I'm 62 years old. And then they also want to know if I'm married. And I am happily married, been married for 39 years. Matter of fact, when I go back to my high school reunion, which isn't represented on here, Benedictine High School in Cleveland, Ohio, we just celebrated 40 years. This year, 45 years. I'm known as one of the few Benedictine graduates, and this is actually really sad, but it's an all-male Catholic high school. I'm known as one of the few across all the classes that come back every year and still have the same wife. So we learned very early on that it's not cool to assume that wife you see this year is the same one that he came with 10 years ago. Okay, how do I advance this? I should have tried it. Oh,
No, you're going to have to point back toward the MacBook,
okay.
okay? Because that's where the transmitter receptacle is, receiver.
Okay, I think I see what I did wrong. Nope. It wants to.
This one.
That one.
Without any label on it.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Small detail. Yes.
There you go.
Okay, there you are. So I'm going to quickly go through these, more about
Thanks,
me,
Steve.
but I like this particular one because if you have someone in your house come to help you, no matter who they are, there's all kinds of weird stuff going on nowadays. And just make sure that whoever you have come in has been background checked in some way. I'm actually here because I do have a couple clients out here that I come out to help. They're all females, and I was actually surprised to see so few females here because females are usually the ones that call me, and you know, the men usually think they know everything, and then the wife will say, "Would you stop screwing things up and call Ed?" But while I was out here, I stopped at the HOA office and introduced myself. I actually am a Texas licensed security guy. So the state's checked me out, and because I've spent time in the Navy, then they've got all my information there. And also because I've worked at Philips Healthcare as a rep, covering multiple states for years, I'm very knowledgeable of, something happened. Oh, there you are, refresh. I'm very knowledgeable of healthcare, and I'm HIPAA certified. I also am, I'm actually a full-time consultant for a financial services company. So they also background checked me and security checked me. I'm not security, credit checked me and all that good stuff. But the thing I'm most proud of, though, is, and this one, I just got a phone call one day from the Dallas Morning News. And they said, we're going to start advertising you as someone who can provide technology services to seniors throughout the Dallas area. And I was like, oh, wow, why me? And they said, well, because we saw the need, and we made phone calls to about 10 different people at different organizations, and your name came up 8 times. So they're actually, if you look at I think it's now called Timeless in Texas, the calendar section, every few weeks they will actually run me in there and give my name and phone number and tell folks to call me if they need technology help. This doesn't cost me anyone, and they won't do it with anyone else, but the thing they do require, though, is that I put something in there saying that I help people for free. So there's a note there saying free for those who qualify. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. So why do people call me for help? And my pastor always said, if it's true, then it's okay to boast about it. So just tell the truth. But and I'm amazed when people started telling me this. I say, well, why do you keep calling me and referring me to your friends? And the number one answer I get is because, Ed, you don't scream at me. And so I'm pretty confident that when you go visit my friends, you won't scream at them like their kids do. And you would think that I was planning that with everybody. I keep hearing it so much. But the other reason is just technology knowledge. Everybody's wondering, how do you know all this stuff? One of the big problems that everyone makes is they assume that they go to a retail store, even Apple, that they're dealing with the expert there. And who are they really dealing with? Does anyone here know?
Salesperson.
Right. What else about that salesperson?
Focused on that one product.
Okay, they're focused on the one product, and the other thing is that it's usually someone, particularly nowadays, who's been given classroom training for 2 or 3 days and then put on the sales floor, and everyone tells you that they're the expert. But the reality is they probably knew more about it than you. I heard from a lady recently that said, well, I went to the store and they sold me a new phone and put me out the door, and the person didn't help me set it up. And I was like, well, one, that person probably didn't know how to, because they gave them minimal training.
Steve.
I also said that you were dealing with a salesperson. And like you said, that person's job, what they get compensated on, is to sell you a phone and get you out of the door. So I anecdotally tell the 55 plus crowd, I call us,
Right.
I'm 62, I anecdotally tell everyone, it's actually true. I say, if you go to a store for help, take someone young and pretty with you, because then they'll want to spend more time with that person. Actually is a way to, that's a good question. So there is a way to look at the link and tell if it's legitimate. But the other thing is if an individual sends you a photo that you know, you can assume that it's legit because you know them, but it might actually be that someone is impersonating them. So it is good if you have any questions before clicking on that link, contact that person somehow and say, hey, did you just send me a link that looks like it might have photos, or did you just send me a link, period, and get a confirmation from them? Because yeah, a lot of these.
My question is, if I send that link out, can somebody then
Oh, no, no. With Google Photos, the answer is no. Now, I've had bad experiences on Dropbox and another tool, OneDrive, where it wasn't very secure. I lost files, so I don't recommend people use those, but they are still out there. But Google is very secure. Okay. Now, we could spend a whole session just talking about this stuff, but I'm doing it high level, and it's amazing kind of how I use this. So, if I have photos on my Google Photos account that go back to 2018. Okay, and one of the examples I'll use with you today is photography is real good if you suffer from CRS. Can't remember stuff. That S also has other versions as well. So one of my favorite stories is whenever I go to the airport, I can't remember where I parked my car. So guess what I do?
Take a photo.
I take a photo of my car relative to a sign that has a location marker. So today, yesterday when I wanted to get one of those phones, I went into Google Photos and I was like, man, how do I find that photo? And guess what I searched on to find it? I typed in parked car. And it sifted through years of data quickly and came back with every photo that looked like it represented a parked car. And the one I was looking for was about the 10th photo in what it returned. Okay? If you know that your photo has people smiling, like I just said, just type smile and it'll come back with every photo has a smile in it. If you're looking for a receipt from Home Depot or Walmart, you can actually type in the name, because Google also has the ability to interpret the words that are on the photos, and a lot of times it'll return back words that are in the photo itself. And if you just do the typical thing, which is, hey, he's taking notes. Him, yeah. You got this? No. My point is, where's your smartphone? Why aren't you taking a picture of this instead of writing?
Like it was gonna be pretty blurry.
Okay, I couldn't resist. One thing you'll see when if I've come visit you, come spend time with you, I never write down anything. I just take pictures of what I'm doing. And I do a pictorial reference, and then I look at the pictures and they're a reminder. It's like, oh, I need to follow up on that. Thank goodness I took a picture to remind me. Yes?
Yeah, along that same line, as long as you're giving out hints, is Google's ability to search on pictures of things. So if you're looking for a special connector or something
Right.
like that, you can scan and ask it to find that.
That's right. You can,
Amazing.
No, that's an awesome feature.
yeah, I forget what I may have an example of that in here. But yeah, you can take a picture,
Google
lens.
Lens.
You can take a
Oh,
picture
Google
of
Lens.
anything and then say, okay, go find all the pictures out there that match this. So let me move on. I've got some examples of this. So here's one where I took a picture of router information. And first of all, this also is a dual purpose demo, because when I'm at Post working, I can't even read this. So I end up taking a picture of it with my phone, and then I can read it. But the other reason why I took this one is every photo has a date time stamp on it. It also has a name, and it has a description field that you can add to it. And all of those are searchable. So if I go in and search for Spectrum, then this is going to come up because I have the name Spectrum Equipment right here. This might even come up if I search for Charter, because it'll look in the image and see the word Charter is there. But just always remember that you can put a description. It has a file name that's always searchable. And then there's always a date time stamp. Many of the photos also have location, but I recommend turning location off, because particularly if you want someone if you don't want people locating where that photo was taken or the house it was taken in, I think Google now turns the location off by default, and you have to turn it back on. Is there a question in the back?
That was my question.
Okay. Now this one, here's the one I was talking about. So my daughter has the $1 million smile, okay? And I was in church, and a family came in, and they said, here's the cutest baby in church. And I was like, I will pass that along. So if someone else comes in and tells me that their baby is the cutest, I'll correct them and say, nope, I saw the cutest baby about 10 minutes ago, okay? So my daughter has this $1 million smile. So I actually did this first time a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, oh, wow, that's pretty neat. It found her. But I went in and searched on smile, and it came back with every picture that had a smile in it, people smiling. Here's the first one of her. She's eating. There she's standing in her kitchen. There she's on skis. And there's another one later of her and her husband. But the one that it came back with that was really awesome, he sent me a picture of her out in the Atlantic Ocean, just swimming around all by herself. And it found that picture of her in the water smiling. But the neat thing was that I wanted a picture of her smiling, and I just searched on Smile, found a few pictures, and then I could share it with people, okay? One of the other things that it does that I was amazed at is Google Photos automatically notices and indexes business cards. So if you're out active business-wise networking, collecting cards, all you have to do is go in and search business card, and it'll find every card that you took a picture of. It just recognizes the formats of them. And then the Google Lens we talk about allows you to actually click on a business card and extract the text from it. And then you can take that text that you've extracted and enter it as a contact. Okay. Now this is actually a chronological thing here, and you can see that I've been storing photos since 1980. Okay. Now what might that also mean? The fact that 1980 is there. And I'll give you a hint. All the photos maintain their date and location.
When the equipment was designed?
Close, very close. So this either means that I started using it back in 1980, or the oldest photo that was located on one of my devices is one that was taken back in 1980. Because even though I might find that device today and then tell Google Photos to index all the photos, add them to the archive, and when you put it up in the cloud, that's called the archive, because you get everything over history, not just what's currently on your device. When it added it, it actually adds based on the date that was in the photo, not the date that it was added. Okay, now here's another good one. So I also put descriptions in that I want to commonly search for. So if I want to search for anything related to my 2003 Ford Taurus, they all have the words 2003 Ford Taurus in it. And so I searched for my Ford Taurus. You see a couple of receipts where I had transmission work done, insurance card stuff, the insurance card that I carry, and then the last or first photos of ours the day when I bought it and towed it home. Okay? So I just put in 2003 Ford Taurus, and it found all these because I put 2003 Ford Taurus. So I do that for all my vehicles. If it's something related to my 2001 Excursion, and that photo has the word 2001 Excursion in it, so I can find it. Now I took this one step further, and I said, well, okay, this is all the stuff related to the Taurus. I'm really proud of my Taurus because even though it's a 2003, it's in mint condition. I'm kind of addicted to buying cars from 55 plus folks that I run into. I actually almost died back in February. I lost control on the ice, was in a coma for 7 days, and then had a stroke after that. They had to keep me alive on a ventilator, lots of ice baths to keep my temperature down. I was fully paralyzed when I got out of the hospital in February, but as you can see, I've made a miraculous recovery. And most people can't imagine that happened. And the first day, God was at work. The first day I was able to drive, I spent that day buying and driving this car home. It was on like August the 8th. And because I had a seizure, I couldn't drive for 6 months. But I bought the car, and then I was like, okay, I'm so proud of my car. I want to just take the pictures related to the car and share them with somebody. I don't want to take there's probably 100 photos there. And keep in mind, these are photos plus images of paper. So what I did, and you can't see it here, but I took these photos at the end. It's like 8 photos. I checked all of them, checked a circle. They now have a blue circle on them. And then I said, I want to share. And there's a share symbol that we can't see. It's right up here, universal share symbol. So I click on that, say I want to share these photos. It then opens up a box and says, create a link. And so it actually is creating a link just to those photos, and then it allows me to copy that link and share it with other people. And this answers a question that came up earlier. So when someone clicks on that link, instead of getting all these photos, they just get the photos that I chose to share. And this is all within a browser window. It actually is easier to take photos with your phone, but when you go in and search, add descriptions, extract the text, it's easier to do that within a browser. So you can go to any browser, log in as photos.google.com with your username and password. Now, the other neat thing about this is you say, well, I'm traveling and I want to share these with a lot of people I visit. You don't have to worry about taking your computer or your camera or whatever. You got them up in the cloud. So when you get to your friends or family's house, just go to their computer, log in, and you can view all your photos online and share them with people.
So what about Google Drive? Because like some people send me stuff through Google Drive.
Yes.
It's 2 different things, right?
Actually, they are not, but it's a real good question.
Okay.
So keep in mind that all these Google products are free, but you pay for the storage. And the storage is shared amongst all the Google products. So what are the Google products? A Gmail account, Google Photos, YouTube is owned by Google, and Google Drive. Google Drive is a very powerful way of sharing files, all types of files, photos and everything else. So photos, all this stuff that I'm actually showing you is actually a Google Photos product, but it's a subset of Google Drive. And photos is one of many contents that can be shared within Google Drive, okay? So let's say if you're a photo person, and Apple has some photo management products that are extremely difficult to use. But let's say if you're a photo person and you say, instead of me saving my photos in chronological order, I want to save them in folders. So I can just have a lot of folders that contain related stuff. Well, if you want to do that, you actually use Google Drive to store your photos. And then within Google Drive, you can map everything into drives or folders. And then you can say, hey, I want to share this photo, or I want to share the entire folder.
That's what my kids do.
Yep.
Dump me a folder.
Yes. Yeah, so think of this as being a folder that they're sharing, except they're actually sharing an actual folder as opposed to just selecting a subset of the photos. So it just depends on, most people are okay saving chronologically, but some people, it sounds like your kids are in a group where they say, hey, we just want to put everything in common folders where each folder has an event name, and then we can just share the whole folder with family.
If you're
Yes.
sharing out of photos, it's typically 1 or 2. But if you're sending a whole album of stuff,
Yeah.
then it's easier to do it via Google.
Yep, absolutely. Now,
But sometimes I can't find the darn folder.
well, and then you remember all the stuff we just talked about,
My folders.
If the photo has a blonde female in it, just ask it to search for photos with a blonde female, and it works. Or if you say somebody's wearing a hat in that photo, search for hats. Or if there's a mountain in the background, search for mountains. It's amazing.
Or the other day, I'm searching for in Google Drive because I knew they'd sent me one. Finally, a little message came up and it says, appears that person must have deleted that.
Yeah,
They on their end had deleted.
yeah. Wow, that's pretty neat. Yeah. So that means they had archived it and searched it and stored the content, but now they're found out that, hey, I'm going to look for it and it's gone. So somebody deleted it. But it does all this archiving of the content, searching and all that in the background. Sometimes overnight, I always tell people, wait overnight and it'll all be updated. Sometimes if you take pictures immediately and then you go look for them 10 minutes later, you don't find them yet. So just give it overnight, okay? And Okay, so this slide, this is a very interesting slide. So this talks about bonuses. So this presentation is about managing your photos. It could also, I could have also called it how to improve your memory. Okay? I could have also called it content management. Okay? I suffer from CRS in a bad way, and actually, as a result of my accident, I have expert personal knowledge of what it means to have major cognitive deficiencies. When I woke up from my coma, I didn't know my name, I didn't know the president, I didn't know the day of the month. They ask you all these questions, where you're at. I didn't know where I was at. So they're like, okay, we're going to switch. We're going to tell you the answers and then see if you can remember them. I was in bad shape. But remember my example of finding my car in the airport? If you suffer from CRS or poor memory, take a picture of everything. You can view those pictures at night to refresh your memory or to remind you of things you need to follow up on. But just reviewing those helps you remember them better. And then if that still fails you and you can't remember stuff, you can do like I did. Hey, give me the photos of where my car was parked. Or I drove a friend's black car. I don't know where the photo is, so what can I search on to find that? Black car. And it'll go through my photos and bring back every one that has a black car in it. The other one, and this is a true life story. I was in medical health care. I went to Houston. I spent a whole week visiting doctors' offices, and then I got home on Friday, and for some reason I couldn't remember where I had been. And I was panicking because I needed to write a trip report. But then I thought, oh, wait a minute. Ed's the guy that takes pictures of everything. So I was able to go back through my pictures for the last week, and sure enough, I had taken a picture of the front door or sign of every office I visited. So I knew exactly where I went, and it had a date time stamp on it, so I knew what day, what time I entered that particular place. And I was so happy, okay? So that's an example of memory. Now keep in mind that everything that I've talked to you about here, you can also do at home to reduce clutter. So with your phone, you're usually taking pictures of somebody mentioned this, you take pictures a couple at a time, etc. What if you had a big stack of papers that you wanted to put in the cloud and be able to search and locate them? Well, you can scan those with a all-in-one printer with an automatic document feeder on it. It'll convert them into images, and you can give it a name. Actually, you saw one. Remember on my car, it showed the whole insurance policy when I searched on 2003 Ford Taurus. I didn't take all those by taking each individual document and taking a picture of it. I actually put the docs on my scanner at home, scanned them into a folder that was monitored by Google Photos, and now it's available on the internet. Content management, and we've been talking about content management. Content management is really about how do you store stuff, how do you find it, how do you organize it, and I encourage everyone to organize things by photo, and that's the primary way I use of storing stuff, even my business information. Now also keep in mind that videos are also stored. When your smartphone is full, and these are all bonuses you get from this, when your smartphone is full, there's a function within Google Photos where you can say, delete all the photos that have already been uploaded to the cloud. And then once you do that, your phone might go from 90% utilization to 75% utilization, because all these photos that were taken up space and are now in the cloud are deleted from your phone. We talked this one earlier, but another bonus is that you can search for text. So here's my search for text example. I was in a training session last week, and as I told you, I took a picture, captured every page, but I actually used capture software on my Windows laptop, and it stored it to a folder that was then monitored by Google Photos. But I got to a point where the instructor said, okay, here's a link to, we were studying about Excel. Here's a link, there's a link in the chat area that that is a link to the files. And I never go along with the exercises while I do training like this. I just take pictures and I want to focus on understanding what the instructor is doing at the moment. And so when it came to this, it's like, I'm not going to open these up and try to keep up with her, but I do want to be able to copy that link that she just put up here and access it later. So, and this was my first time doing this. So what I did was I analyzed this photo with Google Lens, and you have to do right click and search, and it'll come up with Google Lens. And within Google Lens, you have a search, a text, and a translate. Translate will take whatever text you select, convert it to another language. Text will actually recognize text in the picture and allow you to copy it and put it somewhere else. So I actually told it to zoom in on this column and recognize all the text here, and then it allowed me to copy that link into a browser window, and it was fully intact and workable. Now, if I had instead said, hey, zoom in on the instructor and do a search based on that zoomed in picture of her, then what we talked about earlier would have happened. It would actually go and search the internet for her picture, because that's what I had selected at the time. Okay, and then here's my car example we talked about earlier, and it was actually kind of neat because I was like, oh man, how am I going to show that to demonstrate this to them? And I just put in car search or park car, and it found it real quick. And then when we talk about printers with a document feeder on it, it could be something fancy like this HP that costs, office printer that has this automatic scan feed that costs hundreds of dollars. Or it could be something simple like a home Epson printer that also has a document feeder on it for easily scanning lots of documents. And that one, the price range is 100, could be anywhere from $50 to $100. But the point is that you can use that to scan big stuff at home. Now there's one last slide here that I won't bother to go through all of it. The thing that I will mention here, we've already talked about Google Drive, so thank you very much for that plug for that, or asking about that. But the key one that I want to make people aware of, and this is where Google is making money and kicking everybody's butts. If you store your content within Google environment, you don't have to worry about how does someone, I just created this on Windows, how does someone on a Mac open it? Or I created it on Windows 10, how does someone who's using Windows 11 or Windows 7 open it? Or someone on a Mac, or someone who's on Linux. On YouTube, how many of you have gone to YouTube and looked at something and had to worry about where it was created? Has anyone had to worry? No, because YouTube does that translation for you in the background. So one of the beauties of the Google universe is it actually supports many different operating systems beyond just Mac and Android, Windows, Apple. So you just store stuff and you don't have to worry about the person on their environment being able to translate it. Google takes care of all of that for you in the background. And I think that's the major one that I wanted to cover on here. I've got a list of some of the Google Photos alternatives here. There's many of them out there. I strictly tell people to go, oh, the other one I use is iDrive, and of course iCloud if you're on an Apple device. But all these others, I tell people, hey, they're there, and use them at your own risk. I'll help you when you get in trouble, but I'm not gonna, particularly Dropbox and OneDrive. OneDrive is kind of the Google Drive version in the Windows environment. Nice thing about it is it automatically backs up everything that's on your Windows device if you tell it to, but it's also is just very confusing to people. And I think that is my last slide. So Steve is planning to post these, and my contact info is there if you have any questions, but then also just keep me in mind if you need help. I am typically out this way on Saturdays. I'll come out here and just have 2 or 3 people lined up to help while I'm in the area. If I come during the week, and then I usually have the people bribe me with food, fix me a meal, or say, hey, you got a nice room in your house I can work from while I'm at your place? Yes.
And once again, and this is, if you've got privacy concerns, probably not a good thing. But once again, Google, if you do timeline.google.com, I don't know if you've used that feature.
Yes.
at all,
Yes.
but it shows you everywhere you've been.
Absolutely.
for the last.
Oh, I've got a timeline story. When I was in the hospital for a month, I came out of my coma, actually for a week. I came out of my coma and I was hallucinating. I had all these dreams of places that I had visited when I was in a coma, and they thought that I wasn't even active memory-wise. I was like, oh yeah, I was spending money, partying, chasing women. and my wife was like, I'm keeping everybody away from you because I'm afraid what they might hear from you. But as soon as they gave me my computer back, I checked Timeline because I was like, man, I was in Baltimore, Maryland a couple days ago, or I was at a party at this place, or I was in Addison and people were chasing me through the park trying to kill me. But I went to Timeline and it showed that I hadn't been anywhere other than in that hospital.
It wasn't Addison, it was Fulton.
And my wife, of course, was mad at me. You women are special. Thank you. But she's like, why couldn't you just take my word that you hadn't been anywhere and you were hallucinating? I was like, well, I had to see it definitively within Timeline.
Okay, so we appreciate Ed coming out here.
Yep.
Giving a big
Thank you.
hand.
Thank you.
If you want access to what happened tonight, including the recording and the slides and everything, then we have something that's called Groups.io. And how many people are members of the Groups.io? Okay, so all I have to have is your email address that you want to be put in there. Then I put it into Groups.io. It sends you an invite, not from me, from Groups.io. There's no charge for this. This is how we manage our membership in here. Since we don't collect money and we don't use anything else, we found it works very, very well. And we can actually send things out to you as updates. We can send you out a link that says, hey, the recap is available on the website, because we do have a website that we put all these meetings on. So just let me know and give me your email address if you want to be part of that, okay? Any other things for us?
So Groups.io, what's the predecessor of that many of us know very well from long ago?
Yahoo Groups.
Yahoo Groups.
Yep.
Anybody heard of that?
Yep.
That was the way to communicate way
It
back
was.
when.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what this is called, Groups.io?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's nothing you have to know about it other than when you get the invitation, just accept it, okay? Once you do, you're in, all right? And then as we announce our meetings for the future, if you miss the HOA email push, you'll get something from us or from me, from the Groups.io, all right? Stating it, hey, this is coming, this is who's coming, if we're gonna do the, cut the cable, install your home DY antenna, so you'll know what we're doing, okay, on a regular basis. So it's a good way to communicate, all right?
So I assume as part of that, cut the cable, install your antenna, you also going to get safety tips on how to not fall off your roof?
Yeah, well, we don't get on the roof. We get up right on the edge. Okay, we don't get on the roof. I got photos. All right. So I didn't get up there. My sister did. But anyway, it's pretty interesting what we did over the past week of installing this antenna at my mom's home. So anyway, with that said, let's close out, and I'll get Steve to. And if you have any further questions, Ed's probably around for a few minutes.
Yeah, I'll
if you'd
stick
like
around for a bit.
to visit with him, and he could probably tell you more about what he does and in relationship to what you might need help on, okay? So thanks for coming, and we hope to see you next meeting.
Yep.
Turn it. Okay.
Thanks for being such a good group.